Wait. Before we start, just want to make sure we're clear here. While this podcast talks about sobriety, mental health, and addiction, it is not meant to replace professional medical advice. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety.
I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Sonia.
And we're ex-sisters-in-law, brought together in marriage and bonded through our sobriety journey.
Join us as we talk sobriety, addiction, and everything in between. You're in for quite a ride. And our Substack is buzzing with amazing content, from creative mocktail recipes to insightful courses and reflective exercises. There is something for everyone. Don't miss out. It's a great way to add some extra joy and depth to your journey. Check it out. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety. Today's guest is Riana Malia, a board-certified neuro-somatic practitioner whose work focuses on helping women break long-standing relationship patterns and step into deeper, more authentic connection. Her work resonates particularly with women navigating major life transitions like divorce, sobriety, career pivots, personal reinvention, and who want their relationships to reflect who they've become rather than who they used to be. So today we're going to talk about identity shifts, hidden relationship patterns, and how women who have done the work on themselves can finally create relationships that match that growth. Welcome, Riana.
You.
So for listeners who are meeting you for the first time, who are you and what led you to the work that you're doing today?
A great question. Who am I? First and foremost, I'm a mama and a wife of 2.5 years to the greatest love of my life that I never thought would happen for me ever after, all the things. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a CEO, and I am so honored to get to do the work that I've been called to do. How I got there, I think we all have our story, right? Is when I was growing up, it was just me and my mom. My dad was in California. He had another family. They got divorced when I was very small. And he wasn't really around much. Fine, no problem. I was going off to college. He said, listen, I never really helped your mom. I didn't help you. I'm going to pay for your room and board freshman year. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm 18. I get off to college. I'm doing the whole freshman thing. And I get a call a couple months in from the housing people. And they're like, yeah, your bill was never paid and you're fully maxed on loans. So there's nothing more we can give you. So you either have to pay the bill or next week you're going to have to move out the door. And, that's at 18, you're like, And my mom had just moved to another country. So it was like, all right, do I just leave school? What do I do? And I think it was probably the first time now I couldn't articulate it at 18. But when we come up against challenges that were like, I don't know how the F I'm going to get on the other side of this. I literally have no idea. We often think the thing that is holding us back or keeping us from that forward movement is resources, time, energy, support. But most of the time, it's tapping into that part of you that's resourceful. It's the lack of resourcefulness, not resources themselves. And we all have it. It's just about, number one, remembering that you have it and really tapping into that. What is it that you really want? So I moved out of the dorm. I got 3 jobs. I rented a 5-bedroom house. I filled the other 4 bedrooms. And I stayed in school. It wasn't the lovely college experience that my daughter is having, which I'm so grateful she gets to have it. I did what I did. And then I, at 23, got married because I was certain that I was going to be the old spinster cat lady that nobody was going to love. Why? But, we have the stories, we have the internal stuff, we have all that, we have whatever is going on from an unconscious standpoint. And so we were very young. It was a very lonely marriage. But out of that marriage came Maddie, which was, our miracle child. We did divorce when she was 6. And it was like a long time coming, but also so it felt like it was going to be pretty calm. And the day after we made all of these agreements, it turned crazy, volatile. I'd asked in mediation, I'm like, look, only thing I ask is for this first year for Maddie. If you meet somebody, great, good for you, but just let her be with you when she's with you. And he was like, no problem. Can we still could we take her to Disney World for the first time? Can we both be there? I'm like, sure, fine. I called her the next day. She was with him. She wasn't feeling well. And she said, oh, Daddy's friend and her daughter are here and we're making Easter eggs. And then I lost my shit and I became crazy mama, right? And then it was 2.5 years of just horribleness every way around. Like I was the worst version of myself. There was so much fear and so much anger and so much anxiety. And so about 3 years after that, Maddie's 9, we are living in this little town called Afton, Minnesota, which is basically a river town that separates Minnesota from Wisconsin. And we had horses and chickens, and we had a pond that in the summer, every weekend, I would dye it blue so that it looked like the ocean, and Maddie would have her little floaty. It was kind of magical. It was also very old. And that spring, that kind of became the transition time. It was freezing, and it had been so cold that the metal pump for the water snapped off, and you can't do anything about it in the winter, right? Frozen ground. So I had to run a hose through a window, unhook the washing machine, hook up the hose. I was over it. Like, I was so sick of, my father came to visit, said, listen, I think it's the perfect time for you guys to move to California. Move to California, get out of the cold. And I said, well, my dad was a maker of beauty and brilliant. He's also a complete narcissist. And so I said, I'm not moving my life for one of your next big deals that never happened, right? I'm not doing that. And I'm not going to disrupt Maddie's life more than once. I moved a lot when I was a little girl. It's hard. And I can't leave my mom. She just had a surgery on her neck. They nicked a nerve. She can't use her arm. She does nails for a living. So we got to figure that out. The horses. So he's like, great, bring your mom, bring the horses. Here's the financials. It's going to be amazing. And everything inside of me was like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And it wasn't even like red flags. It was like every billboard in Times Square was screaming at me. And I did it anyway. So I moved my mom, my daughter, 2 horses and 3 cats across the country. And I didn't know a single person here. I had a cousin here. But beyond that, it was just him. And at first it was a fairy tale. Weekends with the horses, my parents, we were all hanging out and having family dinners. Maddie had this experience of both of her grandparents. We were all friends having fun. They were having fun. And then a few months in, the day after her birthday, I'll never forget it. He had been there and had like girlfriend number 10,000 because he was divorced again. He was driving her and her weird kids back to South Dakota or whatever they were doing. And I was in the studio, and this man had come to take these mailers to the Tiburon thing because last year when he did them before I was there was something wrong with the postmark. So he was just going to deal with it for me. And as he was getting ready to take them, I heard this noise and I thought, oh, maybe somebody's coming in the studio. And I look around the corner and I see 8 or 10 men with guns drawn, pointed at me. And they put me in handcuffs. And I said, I don't know what's going on here, but my mom is going to be home in 20 minutes with my 9-year-old daughter and a new friend for the first time. Like, I need to call her and tell her to go somewhere else. And they're like, you're not calling anyone. And rather than spending our whole hour telling the story, I ended up in the middle of this huge DEA investigation that had been going on who God knows how long. And so obviously there was a lot of aftermath of that. But the most important pieces were, number one, now they froze all the assets. So there was no capital, there was no business, there was no income, there was no money. This relationship that I had longed for with my father, done. And now I had to make a decision. Do I take us back to Minnesota? Wouldn't have been able to bring the horses, but fine. Do I take us back to Minnesota, back to our friends and our community? And in a heartbeat, I could do that. Or do I keep my promise to Maddie and break generations of broken promises and integrity, right? And at the end of the day, that's what was most important to me. And so we stayed. There's a B. Several $100,000 in debt later. In Minnesota, I was coaching, but I was also the head of practice development for the largest independently owned oncology group. So I didn't, here's different. I was like, I'm not really sure what to do. So I went and got a real estate license. I did that for a bit. And then I started, coaching realtors on how to build businesses and relationships. But then around this time, I had been, of course, done all the things we're told to do. Therapy, talk to our girlfriends, read the books, whatever. But at a certain point, you stay in the story, right? You stay in the story and you don't move forward. And I decided, great time to start dating for the first time. Horrible idea. Ended up in a very abusive relationship. Took me a long time to get out of it. But then that was my line in the sand moment for me. It was like, you know what? Never again. Never again am I going to be in a position where I put myself in a position where I have to either shrink, make myself smaller, or perform and make myself something I'm not and feel crazy. Like, I'm good. I'd be Maddie's mama, whatever. And then I found something that would then become the basis of my life's work, because in a matter of weeks, there was parts of me I didn't recognize in all the best ways. And so that brings us to where we are.
And so your work right now combines neuroscience, somatic awareness, and identity work. How did those all come together in your approach?
So I created this work first for me, right? And in really developing my methodology, which is called the Clear to Create method, the reason being, and kind of how it brings everything together, is we all want, and what I want for everyone, is to live your version of your very best life, whatever that looks like, different for every one of us, right? But you can't just go from old story and trauma and addiction and failed relationships and failed businesses and childhood stuff, like whatever. You can't just go from that to living your very best life. It doesn't work that way. You might be able to for a minute, but it's not going to last. We have to clear before we can create. And the basis of all of that is we have to clear the story to create the life. Everybody says, I want a different story. And I say, well, then stop telling the old one, first of all. And we have to clear the cycles to create the confidence. Everything is cyclical. We look back at our life, we're like, oh, super interesting, 7 or 9 years. Interesting, that showed up. But after we've been through all of this stuff, there's part of us that we don't really trust ourselves. We're like, I don't know. I thought I knew. Look how that turned out. I don't know. I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is a red flag. I don't know if I'm just being picky. I don't know. So then when we're in that space where we can't make that clean yes and clean no decision, then we either make decisions from fear or we don't make them at all. And you're stuck in that decision fatigue all the time. And we have to clear the patterns to create the partnerships. And this is one of the biggest pieces. We want fulfilled, loving, genuine partnerships, professionally, romantically, personally, friends, family. But when we bring all the old patterning and all the old subconscious and unconscious stuff that's wired, we don't get those partnerships. We get more of the same, which is usually the things that we don't want, because what people don't realize is the unconscious mind doesn't hear the qualifying don'ts. So when we say, I don't want to be in another relationship where I don't feel valued and cherished. I don't want to be in this debt. I don't want to be in this job that I hate. I don't want to be in another relationship where I don't feel like I can trust somebody. The unconscious mind doesn't hear any of the don't. So if you find yourself saying, how do I keep ending up here? How do I keep ending up in the same circumstances, situations, relationships over and over and over again? The good news is it's really easy to fix. The bad news is if you don't know how to pattern interrupt that piece, that's the big neuroscience piece, it'll continue to happen forever. And we have to clear the resentment to create the results, because, what I find working with high capacity, high achieving women is that where there's resistance, the real question is, what are you resenting? And when we can clear that, you actually get access to everything that you want. And we have to clear the loss to create the love. So I really looked at what does that actually mean? Like, how is that tangible and not theoretical? Right? So I'm like, oh, nice. That's lovely. Like every other thing in the world. It sounds so great, but doesn't work for me. Not going to work for me. All the things. And so when I created this work, and again, I created it for me first, and on the other side of me doing this work, I became the woman who could receive and be ready for Pete, right? Because I was no longer available for all the toxic bullshit and the relationships that I had to feel like I had to beg to be loved. All of those things that had been such an underlying pattern for so long. But when we're going to clear and then create and then claim, before we can clear anything, we have to get crystal clear. And this is like the foundation for everything. And often I will ask, what do you want between now and dead? What do you want for yourself? Who are you now? Not 10 years ago, 5 years, who are you now? What do you want? And oftentimes it brings tears. And oftentimes it brings tears because depending on what stage of life we're in, there tends to be conversations like, I never thought I would be 50 and divorced. I never thought I would be having to have a career transition at this age. I never thought that when my kids went off to college and I was an empty nester, now that I realized that I've been in this relationship for all of these years and so lonely, like all of these pieces. And when we talk about what do you want, most people are like, yeah, I know what I want. But when you really get into it, when you're really looking at values and non-negotiables and desires as the core of that, most people have never been asked those questions in that way. So it would be exactly like if we went to dinner together and we sat down and the server came by and said, what can I bring you? And we said, we're thirsty. We'd like to start with a salad, some protein and some veggies. Great. And they bring us an iced tea and a Caesar salad and a lovely roasted chicken and some glazed carrots. And we got exactly what we ordered. The problem is we wanted a sparkling water with lime. We wanted an arugula salad with sprigs and goat cheese. We wanted a lovely piece of Chilean sea bass and roasted asparagus. The difference in that level of clarity and specificity is the thing that changes everything going forward, because then you have your menu. You actually know what you want. You know what the non-negotiables are. And that can be, of course, in relationships, but also in life in general. It's not just about romantic relationships, but when non-negotiables become non-negotiables, and not I'm 50, nobody can be perfect. I'm too late. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that. Maybe this non-negotiable isn't that big of a deal. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe I can compromise on that. And that's where women get in trouble. And they start chipping away at the things that are most important to them and who they are to become somebody that can be loved. And the truth is you're not too much. You're not too late. You're not too broken. Literally, you've been functioning and living from an identity that doesn't align with who you are now and who you're becoming.
How do so many high-achieving women especially find themselves so successful at work? And, like you're saying, be able to be so clear and set their goals, but stuck in relationship cycles and be so unclear about what they want from a relationship?
Such a good question. And it's literally across the board. It happens all the time. It's very common. As high-achieving women, we're fixers. We're strategic. We know how to problem solve. We make decisions. We're like, got it. We've handled it. We'll figure it out. If we don't know, we'll figure it out. In relationships, we have to remember that most of what's running the show, you picked up between the ages of 0 and 7. So things that happened in those years, you made decisions. And those decisions that have anchored in and become the blueprint of your life have really formed who you are and how you show up and how you process. So I'm going to just make up an example. You were 5 or 7 and you brought home a spelling test and you got a B and somebody said, good job, but you know what? I know you can do better. You'll do better. And in your little 7-year-old baby brain, you go, oh, I have to be perfect to be loved. Or I have to be the best soccer player. Or you're in a room and you're talking and you're expressing yourself and somebody says, oh, you talk too much. You're just like, settle. You're just like, and I need to be quiet and make myself smell. Like all of those things. And some of them we're consciously aware of and some we're not. But the really big thing to understand, and if it's okay with you, to give your listeners a visual when we talk about the unconscious versus the conscious, because it's really important, especially when we're looking at why relationships are the thing that successful women get stuck in. And if you think about your body, everything from the neck up is your conscious mind. We use it all day long. It's our goal setter. It's everything we know. It's 10%, which means everything from the neck down, the rest of the body, the other 90% is the unconscious mind. So if the conscious is the goal setter, the unconscious is the goal getter. It's the operating system. And it's also the literal library of everything we've ever experienced in our entire lives. And it's held at a cellular level, right? Cellular memory. And we know this from science. But we think about memory being in the brain, and yes, it lives in the circuitry, but it literally is cellular, right? We see that in generational stuff. We see it in animals. We see it with organ transplants. Somebody that hated pickles their whole life, and now they crave them, and they come to find out the person's heart or whatever that they got. That was their favorite thing. It's like those things are cellular. And when it's not released properly, and by properly, that means we're not going back into the story and the trauma and the drama and the pain that caused the problem in the first place. Therapy, amazing. All of those things are beneficial. But when you've done all of that and you're ready for this, we're not going to go back and reinstall the traumatic neurology. You're not going to tell your story again. You're not going to unpack anything. You're not going to go back to the divorce or the worst part of addiction and the bond of we're not doing that because we don't need to. We actually want to clear it in a way. There's no conscious memory of anything. We're going to clear it at the root so that when you release all of those years of anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame, and all those limiting beliefs and limiting decisions that have formed along the way, now you're ready for really what's ready for you in your life. It's like, I'm 50 and a little perimenopausal and a little ADD, and I really love organization, and also stuff piles up around me and I can't deal and I just shut the door. So my pantry was, a great reflection of that, and it was just a mess. And so I took everything out and I put it all over the kitchen. In fact, I even put my phone on time lapse because I wanted to see like how crazy it was after the fact. And it was like 4 hours, and it's like 30-second video, but so much stuff. And then I cleaned out the pantry, and then I was going through all the stuff, and it's like expired crackers, expired pasta, half open, whatever, like threw it all away. And then what was left that was good and whatever, I put it back. It was all organized. It looked like made me feel like Christmas. It's the same up here. We have to get rid of expired ways of thinking, of processing, our neurology, of strategy, of behavior, of living from an expired identity, so that now we have room. We have room to bring in the life, the love that really we truly desire, and that's worthy of us. It's not about shrinking and making ourselves into someone else. It's about being super clear in who you are and getting to own that. And also living from this identity that actually matches who you are now. And back to the why this keeps happening is because every day we think between like 65,000 and 85,000 thoughts, and 90% of those thoughts are recycled. They're the same thoughts we thought yesterday and the day before and the week before, middle of the night, and all the things. But the issue there is 75% of those thoughts or more are negative. And I get a lot of pushback on this because my clients are amazing, smart, emotionally intelligent. They're like, no, I'm so good on mindset. Like, I've done all the mindset stuff. I've been in therapy for years. Like, I've done all that. Okay, great. But back to what we were saying before, what you don't realize is you're declaring all the things you don't want, thinking that that's from a place of power, when all that is making the focus on that. So I do something in my work called Becoming a Magnet for Miracles, where we actually can rewire your brain in 72 hours to flip that. So if you keep finding yourself in the same situations, whether it's relationships or in your career or your friendships or family dynamics or money or health, it doesn't matter. I promise you, we can flip it, and it's so fast, but it's one of the most important things you can ever do.
Is this the difference between maybe intellectually understanding your patterns and you're still repeating them to actually releasing them? And is it a somatic practice?
So it's important to have like conscious awareness, right? Awareness and clarity are super important. And we see that in all kinds, any kind of therapeutic or kind of work, awareness and clarity. The problem is that in traditional therapeutic models, you talk about things and you become aware of them and you get rid of some behaviors, right? You're like, I'm going to change that behavior. I'm going to get rid of that. And that's great. And you have some ahas and you feel really good about it and you feel like you're having progress. And then something happens, because it always will. And it's like, bam, you go way back to where you started. And this is why when people say I've been in therapy for years and I thought I was like, I've done all this work, why did this thing or this experience like take me back 10 years? it's because you didn't replace the neurology. If we blow out all the stuff that you're not going to, that's, dysfunctional, and we don't replace it with anything else, then it's this maddening circle of, I know all this, I get it, that's amazing, what the hell do I do with it? And then, it didn't work for me, which is more evidence that there's something wrong with me. I don't finish what I start. It works for everybody else. I'm just going to have to deal with it. This is how it is. And it's so not how it has to be. Like, I tell people all the time, I don't care how old you are. I don't care what's been for 50 years or whatever. It literally has no bearing on tomorrow. We can create an entirely different present and a new path for the future. And the past stuff really is not relevant, except for the fact that we are going to release it in a way that we're not causing damage. And when I talk about releasing, it's a multidimensional technique. It's been used for hundreds of years. But what it does is, like when we talked about, the pantry and getting rid of all the expired stuff, if you think about negative emotion, and we talked about anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame, they all have their own piece of ribbon, right? And if you think about your life, and every time you've had a significant emotional experience with one of those emotions after the root cause, and the root cause we don't have any conscious memory of, a marble goes on that ribbon. Marbles, 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 marbles. So today, something happens that makes us feel angry or shame or fear, guilt, whatever. It's not about today. It's about the 30, 40, 50, 60 freaking years of marbles behind it. It's the gestalt. That's the charge. The sum is greater than the parts. That's what we get to release. And once we do that, all of that old charge is gone. Now, you're not going to not experience anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and shame. We're not giving you a lobotomy. But the old charge is gone, and we recreate new relationship with those emotions. And if this had happened in the past, you might have had a unwarranted or ridiculous amount of anger about something. Tell me what happens instead. And it's watching people like physically change when they're like, oh my God, if you would have asked me that 3 hours ago, I would have been, I would have told the story, and my heart would have been racing, and I would have felt anxious and a pit in my stomach. And they're like, yeah, there's no charge. And that's that piece that changes the game, right? We can affirm and vision board and pray and journal and do all of those things. And they're all amazing, every single one of them. But unless you tap into that unconscious piece and get rid of the stuff that's not serving you, that's keeping you in these patterns, that's keeping you stuck, that keeps you almost getting there, and then something happens and you burn it down or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't think your way out of it. You can't learn something else. You can't listen to another Brene Brown. You can't read another book. Because if you could have, you would have. I know every single person listening to this right now, capable and very like a seeker, and not somebody that's sitting back waiting for something to magically fall in your lap. So you need to understand it's not your fault. Nothing that you did or didn't do. You literally can't learn this part.
And so what role does identity play in this part of releasing and sort of recreating? And so is our identity changing during this process?
Well, I think it really comes down to understanding. And again, in that when we get that clarity of who you really are and what you want and what's not, what you'll never allow or be available for again. And then we can actually do that dysfunction detox and find out what those uns and lesses are under there that are driving everything, and get rid of all of that. Then we actually get to discover who you actually are now. Because who you are right now, outside of all the labels. I was a mom for, that was my focus. I was a wife. I was a business owner. I was a CEO. Move all of that aside, all the noise, all the society stuff. Who are you? And it's like an opportunity to like step into who you're actually meant to be. Because we're like, I was a nurse for 50, whatever. I can't go become a hot air balloon pilot because I said I was doing this. You actually can. Yeah. But it's like, whatever. I see it all the time in real estate. I'll use that example. Like they were a librarian, or they sold advertising or whatever. And all of a sudden they decided to switch their career to real estate. And then they wonder why their friends and neighbors, like they never use them for real estate services, because in their mind, there's still that other identity. And unless you step into her and own her and embody her and integrate her, then you're still attached and still living from that other identity. So when we get to figure out who you are, and then we get to move into that create phase, and we actually get to then put the stuff back in, right? We replace the neurology, the behavior, the strategy, and all the things. And when I say strategy, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about strategic planning in our careers. I'm talking about we have a strategy for everything. It's how our unconscious mind knows what to do next to then give instructions to our conscious mind. We have a strategy for sex. We have a strategy for grocery shopping, strategy for getting ready for bed at night. And some of those serve us really well, and most of them are super dysfunctional. And so again, to our point of replacing that. And then when we are looking at who you are and what you want, that identity, that version of you that no longer is having all of this old stuff run the show, that's no longer held back by all the past stuff, that's no longer listening to the voice in your head that says, you're not worthy of that, you don't deserve that, you're not good enough for that, it's too late for you, blah, blah, blah. I like to describe it like a bridge. So imagine that you are standing in front of a bridge, and make it the most beautiful bridge for you. For me, it would definitely be sparkly to some extent, right? So whatever your bridge looks like. And that version of you today is standing right at the end, at the beginning of that bridge. And on the other side of that bridge is this next level identity, this identity for you that actually matches who you are and who you're becoming. And when you start doing this work, it's like, have you imagined that identity, that version of you is standing right behind you. And she's done so much, and she's been through so much, and she has gotten us here, and we love her, and we're so grateful. And imagine yourself turning around and just hugging her, embracing her. And I imagine holding, you hold Timmy's hand, and then you were going to walk away from each other, and you're like, okay, bye, I love you. And then one hand, and then you let go. It's like, thank you for everything that you did. You got us here, but you can't take us to this next piece because all this stuff is still attached to you. So it's then doing this work, which is walking across the bridge. And then on the other side of that, this new identity, it's an integration, but it really is a powerful, amazing way to go from wherever you are right now. If you know why you're stuck, if you know what is going on, amazing. If you don't, amazing. Some combination thereof, but to really know that we're going to start with the clarity piece, and then clear out all the stuff, and then create. And then once we are clear and we've gotten rid of all the junk and we know who you are and what you want, then I actually do something specific around goals, and I do it in a different way. So we reverse engineer the goals. And what I mean by that is we start at the end, at the moment where it's achieved, and we reverse engineer backwards. But where we actually start from is the important part. So let's say, again, whatever these goals are, relationships, money, trip, whatever. So let's just say for ease, it's a trip to Greece. And what you're saying is, by December 31st, 2026 or sooner, I'm celebrating having booked, that's my dream vacation to Greece. Amazing. So my question for you is, what has to happen in the second before you could call me and say, Riana, my trip is booked? What has to happen this?
Love that. Yeah. Yeah.
So it might be that you got an email and it said from your travel advisor, here's your villa is booked, here's your flights, blah, blah, blah. And you look at that, and what do you feel in that moment? What do you hear? What do you see? That's the moment then that we install on your timeline, because the brain doesn't know the difference between something that's actually happened and something that we can experience with all the emotions. And when we install that on your timeline, now it ignites the reticular activating system in your brain,
Mm-hmm.
which laser focused, looking for the people and the experiences and the resources so that you see them, to make sure that you actually get to experience that and achieve those goals. And by micro stepping backwards, what has to happen just before that, and just before that, and just before that, all the way back to today, we don't miss any steps. Traditional, hey, between now and the end of the year, I'm going to book this trip. Awesome. What do we have to do? Write down 4 or 5 things. Sounds good. Most people, do they do it? They never do it. And then more evidence that they don't follow through, and they don't, they don't get to have their dreams. But you miss like 80% of the steps going forward because the unconscious mind can't fill in the blank that way. And then you get to move into the cling phase. And this is where you get to own and embody and integrate and embody this, where when you own this, you no longer need any of that external validation. Like, is this the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? Is this a good person? Is this a bad business? Like, you are so clear and in love with yourself again. And you can confidently hold boundaries and communicate your needs expertly and really deepen the richness in every single one of your relationships. And then you integrate that into your decisions, into your energy, into your life. And when you embody that, you get to just really lead and live and love from this new frequency. And that's kind of that full circle. And frequency is important because we don't get what we want in this life. We get who we are. And I love to use music as an example. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite kind of music?
Like so much different music, but right now
Yeah.
I've been listening to the Heated Rivalry soundtrack a lot. Yeah.
Amazing. And then if you had to pick a least favorite genre of music.
Country.
All right. So I want you to imagine for a second everything you want for your life. Magic wand, fairy dust. No saying, well, I'm too old for that, blah, blah. Everything you want for yourself, your life, your relationships, your future is hanging out at this frequency. And it's the Heated Rivalry soundtrack all day, every day. Like, so good. And consciously, often we think we're hanging out in these high vibration, high frequency emotions, appreciation and joy and gratitude and love and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
But unconsciously, we're hanging out in fear and doubt and anger and rage and guilt and shame. And you're stuck on the freaking Kenny Chesney station.
Yeah.
So my question is, can you hear Heated Rivalry on No Shoes Radio? Not a chance in hell. How are you going to hear this? You have to raise your frequency. You have to change the channel to get to Sirius XM 111, whatever it is, so that you can have the life and the love and everything that's meant for you.
Yeah.
Frequency issue. So this whole process is this very powerful but very fast. Take you from where you are to where you want to be, but in a way that's responsible and actually built. Because I do think a lot of this work that is heavy on mindset and clarity and awareness, it does put people in a position where they then beat themselves up. But it's not your fault. If somebody helps you get rid of all this stuff that doesn't work, but we don't replace it with anything else, you don't get there. And it actually becomes, in my opinion, harmful.
And so I feel a big difference. I've talked to a lot of people about manifestation, and sometimes I feel I'm a really practical person, and I feel like I fail at manifesting. And the way you explain it, the reverse engineering feels a lot more doable. But how would you compare your method to manifesting or describe it in relation to them?
The problem with manifesting is some years ago, we all read a book and watched a movie that was super awesome. But then there was this idea of like, oh, we're just going to get to make vision boards and like hang out at home, and then these things are going to fall from the sky.
Yes, it's exactly that.
10 times a day, and we do the 3-6-9 method, and then, and that's great. Manifesting truly is neuroscience. It takes only 17 seconds when you are really holding a thought at that highest frequency to either create new neural pathways or reinforce the old one. Manifesting happens when you stay in the energy and the frequency of that it's already happened. So if something is not working or something is not going the way it could or should in your life, and you're thinking about that, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to figure out a solution. You're still thinking about the problem. And every single second that you think about the problem, it's like anti-manifesting. And so it's a muscle, right? And it's not easy. Like I struggle with it every day. I have a little process that my mentor, my coach has given me over the years, because we can't do our magic on ourselves, which is also hysterical because some of the stuff she says to me is the exact same things I say to my client. But I'm like, I need to hear it from somebody else. But it's a little bit staying delusional in that frequency of we're not giving a single second to thinking about the problem. And that's not being irresponsible. It's literally that is manifestation of energetically and emotionally, right? With all the senses. So I tell people, make a movie, like we'll do this thing. We'll make it like a 60 or 90-second movie of like all your life, how it is. So you can feel it. And I want you to play that movie over and over, because you're either going to run your success film or your disaster film. And 99% of the time we're running disaster films.
Yeah.
And it keeps our brain focused on and attracting all of the stuff, which is like the opposite of manifest. Well, it's all manifesting. We're just manifesting the stuff we don't want over and over and over again.
And so if we do start to move to talking a little bit about practical tools that someone could use today to become more aware of their patterns, what would you say?
Those things. What I will do is I will walk you through my Magnet for Miracles process that I do with my private clients.
Okay. I would love that.
And then I'm going to give you guys all an incredible gift that's going to give you insight to you that you've never had. How's that sound?
Yes.
Okay. So I talk a lot about values in my work, and values, again, the core of who you are. Without these things, it could not be. So my values in my business are love, generosity, impact, the belief in what's possible, excellence, and being a magnet for miracles. And being a magnet for miracles is my favorite thing to teach. We all know those people that they're like, of course, it's raining. There's never a parking spot. Mm-hmm. A haircut, and I hate it. And I went to the thing and they didn't do it right. It's always that way. My daughter and I have a fun game, which her friends at college are always like, how do you do that? We always have a parking spot where no matter where we go, all the time, because it's just expected. Like, of course, there's going to be a parking spot. Yeah. I'm going to turn around the thing and it's there every single time. So all of that to say, if you want to play with me in this space, here's what you need. 2 plain pieces of paper and a rubber band. And the rubber band has to be the office kind that stings when you snap it. It can't be like our smushy, scrunchy ones, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this, imagining we're in a room with 4 walls. And if you're in a room with 4 walls, you have one in front of you and behind you and to your left and to your right. And one of those walls is going to be your away wall. On your away wall is everything you don't want. Every single thing, from a dirty car to, debt, whatever, all the things you don't want. Your toward wall is going to be everything you do want. And again, no filters. Magic wand, goals, wishes, dreams, fairy dust, all of it. And if you're a visual person, I want you to actually close your eyes and pick, like, if you're in a room, point to where your away wall is. Where is it for you? Where would it be for you?
I'm normally in, but I'll point.
Yeah. So you can just pretend you're in any room, any square.
Okay.
Would your away wall, where would it be? To your left, to your right, in front of you, or behind you?
My right.
To your right. Okay. And then where's your toward wall?
To my left.
Your dream wall. To your left. Okay. Amazing. Now, I have some clients that are super visual, and they will actually, in a room, in their office, in their bathroom, in their closet, like put these things on the wall if they like really need the grounding. Not required. So here's what we're going to do. You are going to take one of those pieces of paper and write away and the other write toward, and I want you to fully empty out and actually write all of those things. And if you need more than one piece of paper, go for it. Everything you don't want, everything you do. Once you have that, I want you to take a picture of it on your phone and either put it in those two lists in an album, or I put them in my notes app and pin it on the top so I can just like open it and click it. Easy. I want you to have access to them all times. And then for 72 hours, you're going to put the rubber band on and you're going to go about your life. But don't start this if you're not all in. If you're like, oh, this sounds stupid, which I will tell you, I have a lot of clients that said, quite frankly, Rihanna, I thought that was kind of dumb and it literally changed my whole life. So not like going to play, don't play halfway, because then you're just going to end up in that same mind space of like, nothing ever works out for me. But if you want to play and you really, truly are ready to have your physical life be different, I want you to think about your current physical world like a cake. So everything, I want you to, like all that stuff you don't want and everything that's currently not working for you, whether it's relationships or money or whatever, if we bake a cake and we take it out of the oven and it tastes terrible, how are we going to bake a better cake? We're going to look at the ingredients, right? And maybe we use salt instead of sugar or whatever it is. But as humans, we're all governed by 4 states: physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Our physical state is the cake. It's the last thing to come out of the oven. It's the last thing to manifest. So what are our ingredients? Our thoughts, our emotions, and whatever kind of connection we have spiritually. And the basis for all of that is right here. It's what we're focused on. So we've kind of been the through line of this conversation, right? And so what we're going to do is over the next 72 hours, every time you find yourself driving in the car, doing the dishes, in a conversation, and you either notice that you're like complaining, blaming, justifying, feeling sorry for yourself, in the downward spiral, like, nothing ever works out for me. Bubble, like anything like that. Or even just like, I want this thing, it's never going to happen. I want you to snap the rubber band. And then I want you to replace it with a better feeling thought, right? We talked about frequency. There's high frequency emotions and low frequency emotions. And again, most of the time unconsciously, we are hanging out way down here on the country station, which by the way is my favorite music. So,
I knew that because you even were naming things. I was like, who is Loose Shoes? Or
my favorite. I don't love you any less, by the way. It's most people's not like their least favorite, which is funny. But you're hanging out in these, and you don't even know you are because you've lived this way for your entire life. So often I find the very first day you're going to do this, you might not snap the rubber band very much because you don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
But whenever you do, even if it's just like you're anxious, you're feeling irritable, you're mad, you just have a yucky, I want you to snap the rubber band. And then I want you to try to go back to the last thing you remember thinking about. And I promise you it's something on that away wall list.
Yeah.
And then how do we replace it? So many ways. Number one, literally look at something on your toward wall list and visualize it with all the senses as though you're experiencing it, as though it's already happened. Whatever it is, pick something. If you can't do that, or you don't have your phone, whatever, you don't remember anything on your list, then there's a couple of other ways to do this. You can just sit for a second, 30 seconds, and anchor into something you're really grateful for. But like right now, not like the Pollyanna, I'm so grateful for my life. Like, no, I'm so grateful right now because it's been cold and rainy for days and the freaking sun feels so good on my face. Like something real in the moment. And then, I want you to ask yourself, who can I serve in this moment? And it doesn't have to be a big deal, but get out of your head. Send a text to a girlfriend. Pick some flowers out of your garden and bring them to the sweet little Grammy who doesn't have any feeling. Just the garbage can up that fell over at your next door neighbor's house. Just something in service. It can even just be an intention or a prayer or sending love out into the universe for somebody, or, but do something for someone else outside of yourself. Day 2, you're going to start snapping more. You're going to start being like, holy shit, I do this all day long. By day 3, you should be snapping a lot. And this is where the fun begins to happen. It's not about you not experiencing these thoughts, right? We're never responsible for our first thought. Thought comes in our mind, that's uncontrollable, but we're responsible for everyone thereafter. So when that thought comes in and we do the pattern interrupt and we replace it, what you're going to find is it's all about how quickly you pull yourself out of that and replace it. Flip that thought. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And what you're going to see is the cake starts tasting really good. And all those things that you felt like were always happening to you are like, interesting. These people that I'm meeting are like so amazing and generous and kind and loving. And there's freaking parking spots everywhere. And, this money showed up that was totally unexpected. But I forgot I had some, what are they called? Lawsuit things where they have like class action thing where you sign up for something and you get a $20 check 5 years later. Doesn't matter. Like that's the stuff. And this is how you change your life. And I don't care how big it feels. And that's not to be dismissive. It can be so heavy and so hard. And I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. You got it. I promise you, if you play for 72 hours with me, I want you to come back and tell me what you experienced and what showed up.
I'm going to do it.
It's really quite extraordinary. And then I want to give you the ELLI. So I created a diagnostic assessment called the Extraordinary Love Index, and we lovingly call her the ELLI.
Oh, and that was my dog's name, and she just passed like a few months ago. Ellie, yeah, my Ellie.
Your ELLI. So you have your ELLI too. The ELLI answers the question of what is actually standing between you and extraordinary love. And that can be self-love. That can be romantic love. It's all of it. But it's not like the Disney character princess quiz. So it's not going to take like 30 seconds. It's 40 questions. So give yourself a good 10 or 15 minutes to answer thoughtfully, because what I'm going to send you is a 28-page personalized report with all of the insights from all of your answers, looking at 9 key areas based on my frameworks that are going to show you, here's, based on how you answered these things and what you said, here's what you might be seeing in your life. Here's what might be showing up. Here's the cost if you stay there. And here's something that you can do right now to start moving yourself in the direction that's more aligned with who you are. So I actually also read every single result that comes in. The data is incredibly fascinating and you see patterns, right? But I promise you, if you answer thoughtfully, the insight that you're going to get is going to connect some dots. It's going to give you some, oh my God, that makes so much sense now. It's going to relieve you of some of this, what's wrong with me. It's just incredible information for you to have. So that is my gift to all of you.
Amazing. And we can link to the Ellie in the show notes.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. Riana, I can't tell you how inspired I am to check out more of your work and to try some of these exercises. I am super excited.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for listening to Sisters in Sobriety, and we will see you next week. This was Sisters in Sobriety.
Thank you for listening and being with us today.
If you want to learn more about sobriety and meet your community, find us at sistersinsobriety.substack.com.
Are you a sister in sobriety? Then reach out on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
If you're feeling generous, leave us 5 stars and a review and follow us wherever you listen.
You'll never miss an episode. Until next time.